We will start. And today we're just working on trying to make contact with what is so that we can let go. I've found myself having this really weird week. And so we're going to work with that. The request I received last week from Erica was to work on our feet. So we're going to start with that. So for today, let's make sure we've got 2 blocks and a blanket. And we're going to just start by making some contact with our feet. So if you've got socks on, you're probably going to want to take them off. And we'll start by just sitting up tall. We can cross our right leg over our left. And the first thing you're going to do is just give that right foot some love. So you might just, rub your hands over the soles of the feet, over the front of the feet, just to start to send some blood flow there. If that feels good, you can keep doing that. Otherwise, you can make a little fist with your left hand and do some little happy pats on the front of the foot, the side of the foot, the bottom of the foot, just to say hello, foot, and they're gentle, happy pats. And then we'll go ahead and let that go again. And then I want you to spread wide through your left hand and interweave your fingers through your right toes. And the first thing you're going to do is sort of squunch your fingers around your hand. And then I want you to use your hand to spread your toes. And you're going to do about 5 of those. And you're just squeezing your fingers with your toes. And then you're spreading your toes with your fingers. And after you've done about 5 of those, you're going to squeeze your hands around your toes and using just your ankle, create some circles. And you'll do about 4 or 5 one direction. And then you'll do 4 or 5 the other. And we're just really trying to see what's going on in the foot, sending a bit of awareness there. And once you've done 4 or 5 both directions, go ahead and pause. Coming back to spreading wide with your toes. So now you're going to use your fingers and your hands to spread your toes wide. And you're going to do 4 circles one way. And you'll notice that this might be a little bit more challenging mentally. And after you go 4 or 5 one direction, you'll go 4 or 5 the other. And again, we're trying to make sure this isn't happening through our left hand, left arm, but it's just our right ankle. Awesome. And once you've done 4 or 5 and you're balanced between the sides, I encourage you to hold on with your right hand and take your left hand. And now you're just going to move the toes in circles one way. And then you'll go the other. Okay. And so the request was to work on the feet, but part of working on the feet means we need to work a little higher up. So you'll go ahead and let go of your foot, and I want you to bring your hands to the back of your right calf. And you can start to push your thumbs in wherever it feels good to you. So some of you will go straight up the middle of your calf towards your knee. Some of you will go towards the bottom, so the part that's closer to the floor on the outside edge where your peroneals are. Some of you will go across the top, coming to the back of that shin bone. And you'll just feel what that feels like as you just sort of press your thumbs into your calf. And notice if you're not breathing and see if you can do that. And then once we've done that, about 3 or 4 passes up and down that calf, you'll go ahead and release that. The left hand comes back to your right heel. And going back and forth like a saw, I want you to jiggle your heel as though you're trying to take your heel off the rest of your foot, and notice what that does to the sole of your right foot. And after you've gone forward and back a few times, you'll then go up and down. So you'll just shake it again like you're trying to take your heel off your foot. Great. And then last little thing, just because this feels good, you might need to cross your right knee a little bit more towards the right. And you can either put your elbow into the sole of your foot at the bottom of your heel. You can use your thumbs. And you're just going to dig around there to find a fun spot at the bottom of your foot. Some of you might come closer towards the inside edge, closer to your ankle bone, but you're finding one of those energetic points there, and you're going to just notice what that feels like. And then we'll go ahead and release that. Any last little massages to that foot. And then you'll release your foot long and just extend both legs long. And as we always do, I want you to notice if you notice anything different between how the feet look, how the feet feel, and specifically what's happening in the backs of the calves as well. And then we'll go ahead and try the other side. So you'll bend both knees, slide that right leg underneath the left, and then bring the left foot on top. And again, you start by just rubbing the feet, sending some blood down there, creating some heat. And if that feels good to you, you can continue to do that. Otherwise, the right fist will make a little fist, and you'll just give the foot some little gentle love taps, maybe along the sole of the foot, the outside edge of the foot, the top of the foot, or the inside edge of the foot. And we're just doing gentle little taps, maybe even some little gentle rub taps, whatever feels good to you. And then again, we'll come to stillness with that. Spread wide through your right hand and weave your right fingers through your left toes. And just as we did before, you'll squeeze your hands, or rather your toes, around your fingers, and then spread your toes with your fingers. You've just got about 5 of those. And the more you can actually use the muscles of the feet, we're starting to warm everything up, but also create a little bit more space. Awesome. And after you've done about 4 or 5 of those, you'll clench your toes around your fingers, and you'll create about 4 or 5 ankle circles going one way. And again, we're trying to make sure that this is happening from the left ankle and not from the right shoulder, right arm. Once you've gone 4 or 5 one way, you go 4 or 5 the other. And you're really clenching your toes around your hand. And once you're balanced between those, you'll come to stillness. And I want you to spread wide through your toes. And then you'll do that one more time. So little circles. And you'll notice that with the toes spread, your circle may not be as big or as smooth, or maybe your arm wants to start to help out. See if you can just let the foot and the ankle do this articulation. So we're basically sort of teaching our feet how to wobble. And so it's one of those weird things where certain movements just aren't as available to us. Awesome. And once you've done 4 or 5 that way, you'll come to stillness. And again, we're working our way up our calves. So again, you're going to start to massage the back of your calf. Maybe you're just digging your thumbs into the outside edge of your calf. Maybe you're going straight up the middle. Ooh, there's a fun spot. Maybe you're going up the front, and you're just paying attention to where you find little knots. We're not staying there too long. You're just sort of moving through them to get the blood moving. And after you've done about 3 or 4 of those passes up towards your knee, we'll go ahead and release that. You'll use your right hand to grab your left heel, and again, back and forth, like you're trying to take your heel off of your leg. And after you've done a few of those, you can go up and down, and again, just shaking up and down. Awesome. Oh, and I forgot one last thing. Make sure your hands come back through that toe, and you want to just circle the toes. It creates space in the metatarsals, which once we get to balancing, that will be a little bit easier and better for the feet. Right. And then our last little thing, you get to dig into your foot however you want. So some of you will use your thumbs and you'll come into the soles of your feet. Some of you will use that bony bit of your elbow and press into your feet. And you're just finding a fun spot that's either closer towards your heel bone. Maybe you move it out towards the ankle bone. Maybe you come up towards the ball of the foot, but you're just pressing wherever there feels like there's tension. And then when you're done with that, we'll gently release. Send both feet forward. Hopefully the coloration in the feet looks about the same. Hopefully the feet feel both equally open. And then we'll make our way over to hands and knees. And as we start to come to hands and knees, I highly encourage you to put your blocks towards the upper outer corners of your mat. We're going to do a few more tedious things before we get to standing, but we want to make sure that we've got our knees padded if they need to be padded, and our blocks easily accessible if we need them. Great. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come to toe squat. So walk your knees about hip distance apart, curl both sets of toes under. And before we go into toe squat today, I want you to walk your hands back towards your knees. Shift your weight back to lift your knees up and away from the floor until you feel sort of a stretch coming into the feet, maybe even the ankles. And then you're going to lower your knees back towards the floor until you still feel a stretch coming along the heels, the ankles. And then you're going to see if you're breathing or if you stopped breathing, and we're going to come back to that. And we've just got 3 more breath cycles here. You're actively pushing the floor away. You're reaching your heels back away from you. And you're just noticing that gentle stretch that's happening across the ankles, maybe even the sole of the foot. Awesome. And then we'll come forward, bring the tops of the feet to the floor, and you can have a pitter patter, tipper tantrum if you'd like. making that as big or as small as you want. Sometimes it feels good to just wiggle the toes into the floor. And then when you're ready, we'll shift our weight back. Our knees are still on the blanket. Hands will come back behind you. And you can either lift one or the other knee or both knees. And if you do lift both knees, notice what it feels like to maybe shift the weight a little bit, sending one knee closer to the blanket, to the floor, and then the other just to feel how that feels. And then when you're ready, we'll come forward and we'll try that again. So this time you can walk knees, ankles, and shins together if you'd like. Make sure the pinky toe hasn't escaped. We're going to come straight up to vertical. So once we come up to vertical, let's go ahead and make fists. And I want you to create a figure 8 with your hands. And so this is just to distract you and also to get ready to start to bear weight on our hands. Once you've gone for one way, you're going to go the other way. And you're just seeing how smooth you can make your figure 8, how big you can make your figure 8 if one way seems a lot easier than the other. And once you feel balance between that, you can let that go. And then we're going to just take a few shoulder circles before we take a lat stretch. And you're just seeing what you're seeing. So I'm distracting you from the fact that we're still in toe squat. So you're paying attention to if you're breathing. And then go the other way if you haven't already. Awesome. And then you've got 4 more breath cycles here. So you can do whatever you want. So if you want to reach your arms up and take a little side body stretch, you could do that. If you want to bend one elbow and do that, you could do that. If you want to do eagle arms, or if you want to do anything other than anything I've suggested, do that. But we've just got our last 2 breath cycles here. And you're just paying attention to what feels good to you as you're here. Awesome. At the end of your next exhale, you'll go ahead and come forward, hands and knees, pitter patter the tops of your feet to the floor, happy release. And then if you'd like, you'll shift back as normal for the counter stretch, lifting one end or both knees up and away from the floor and noticing what that feels like. Nice work. Okay. From here, let's go ahead and come forward. So Jenny, this one's for you. Everyone else, this is good for you as well. We'll see what happens. So we want to make sure our knees are directly underneath our hips. Our hands are directly underneath our shoulders. I want you to inhale, lift the belly, drop the belly, lift the tail, lift the head, and then exhale, just round through the spine. And you've just got 2 more cats and cows before we try to find a little bit more stability in the spine, find a little bit more engagement of the core. So you're just moving through your cats and your cows, finding that flexion and that extension. Nice work. And then the next time you come to exhale the spine, stay there for 3 breaths, push down through the hands, drop the tail, drop the head. Great. And then let's inhale to a neutral spine. Now, as we're here, let's press down evenly through your hands, lengthen your pubic bone back, reach your sternum forward, lift your ears just a smidge. Great. Push down through both hands. Start to reach your right hand forward, thumb faces up. And you've got 4 breath cycles here. So keep drawing your front ribs in and back. Keep reaching the crown of your head, the tops of your ears forward. And then notice if you can keep pulling those front ribs in and back. And at the end of your 4th exhalation, you'll simply lower that right hand down. You'll inhale through a cat and a cow. And then on your next inhalation, you'll come back to that neutral spine, and we'll try that on the other side. Great. So once you're in tabletop pause, lengthen pubic bone away from crown, draw your front ribs in, and then reach your left hand forward, palm faces forward, thumb faces up. And you're seeing if you can pull both hip bones back, if you can push down through that right hand, and if you can draw your sternum forward as your pubic bone goes back. So the whole front body, stays long. After your 4th exhalation, you'll simply lower that left hand down. And again, you'll take another cat and cow. Nice work. Next in-breath, let's come back to a neutral spine. We're going to add on. This time, send your left foot back, tuck the toes under, squeeze all the muscles around the bones. And I want you to reach your tailbone back, your pubic bone back, and draw those front ribs in. From here, lift that left leg parallel to the floor. Make sure the pinky toe is pointing straight down. And then from here, You can stay here, or you can reach the right hand forward, and we're going to stay here for 4 breaths. And again, you're pulling those front ribs in and back. You're lifting happily through that inner left thigh, and you're pushing down like crazy through that left hand. Great, you've got 2 more breath cycles here. See how you can keep the core integrated as you relax your jaw. At the end of your next exhalation, listen very closely, lower just your right hand to the floor. Bend your left knee so your left heel reaches up to the sky. Squeeze your butt a little bit and see if you can lift that left thigh more parallel to the floor. Great. As you exhale, draw that knee forward and then out to the left, and then inhale, open it up back to the sky and behind you. So you're just creating a circle. And you've got about 4 of these one way. And maybe your breath needs to be a little bit longer than what I suggested. Maybe it needs to be a little bit shorter, but you're trying to keep your spine pretty neutral. You're trying to squeeze that left butt cheek so that you can open that left leg as far to the left as possible and up and back behind you as possible. And after you've gone 4 circles one way, you'll reverse that and go 4 circles the other. And again, we're seeing if we can keep the weight even in our hands. Are we leaning more over to that right hand, or can we stay even? There we go. Nice work, guys. And after you've done 4 little circles with that happy hip, you'll lower the right knee down, and again, a cat and a cow. And you're just observing and noticing what you notice. I notice that for me, when something crazy happens, I just want to check out, but sometimes you have to make contact with what's happening in the moment so that you can better adjust. And so we'll come back and we'll try the other side. So let's slide our right leg back, tuck the toes under, hug all the muscles around the bone. And then when you're ready, you'll lengthen tailbone and pubic bone back, sternum forward, and float that right leg parallel to the floor. Make sure the inner right thigh is lifting up, the right toes are pointing straight down, and you can stay here, or you can start to reach your left hand forward, thumb faces up, palm faces in. And now as we're here, everyone think about drawing that outer left hip back even more than you would think, and then lift up higher through that inner right leg. Keep pressing down through the right hand and drawing your front ribs in and back. Awesome. After you've taken 4 breath cycles, you'll gently lower just the left hand. Bend the right knee, lift the right thigh up a little bit more. Keep squeezing that heel towards your bum. And then as you're ready, you'll exhale, the right knee will come forward and then out to the right, and then inhaling up and back. And you've got 4 circles one way. And if you need to make the breath longer, you can do that. If you need to make the breath shorter, you can do that too, but you're just moving. And after you've gone 4 one direction, you switch the direction. We're just lubricating the hip joint. Great. And after you've done 4 each way, you'll go ahead and come back to stillness. Lower both knees down, tuck both toes under, inhale, gaze forward, and then exhale, downward facing dog. And for today, we're going to listen very closely. Everyone keep your knees pretty super bent. Lift all 10 toes up and away from the floor. So your knees are bent and your toes are curling up towards your knees. Now, keeping that, straighten just your left leg. Keep breathing. All the toes are lifting away from the floor. And then you'll inhale and bend both knees. And then you'll straighten just the right leg. And all toes are still reaching up towards your face or the sky. Great. And you'll do that 2 more times on your own. Just noticing how this changes the sensation in the calves, in the hamstrings, noticing what that does to your feet. And as you're here for these last few breath cycles, if you want to notice the difference, just place your toes on the floor and see what that feels like versus lifting them up and away. Awesome sauce. All right, let's go ahead and come to stillness. As you're ready, let's inhale and come forward to plank. And once we come to plank, we're going to do kind of a funny looking plank. I want you all to dome your upper back in the way that I generally don't tell you to dome your upper back, and then lift your butt a little bit higher in a way that I generally don't tell you to lift your butt. Yep, and so you're just lifting the inner armpits, you're doming the upper back, you're lifting the pelvis. And just notice how this feels in your hands. As you exhale, bend the knees, lift the hips up and back, keeping the armpits that lifted, keeping the back of that rounded. And then from there, push the hands down and forward, shoulders down and away from the head as you lift the hips up and back. Nice job. And then you'll just take a moment to breathe here. Great. All right, let's add on. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. Keeping those hips square. Exhale, quietly step that right foot between your hands. Once the right foot gets forward, step the back foot in a smidge and spin it down for warrior one. And then from here, push down through both feet, reach your heart and sternum forward, and inhale, come all the way up. Cool. So now what I want us to do for today is everyone go ahead and lift your left arm up. Bring your right hand behind you to touch the inside edge of your left thigh. And I want you to notice how you can change your pelvis, drawing that left hip forward, drawing front ribs back in order to find a crazy stretch going from your left front ribs down into your left hip. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're pushing through both feet. You're keeping that right knee as bent as it can be as you reach and press down through the outside edge of your back foot. And then you'll go ahead and reach your right arm up to meet your left. See if you can square your hips and focus now on pushing down on the pinky toe edge of that back foot, bending more into that front knee, and then continuing to draw your front ribs in. And as weird as this sounds, as you push down into your right foot, I want you to think of turning the whole foot clockwise. So it's not actually going to go anywhere, but it'll just activate that outer hip. Awesome. On your next exhale, hands will come back down to the floor. And step back, downward facing dog. Okay, we'll try the other side. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. And then step the back foot in a smidge, spin it down to the floor, root down into your feet first, and then inhale, come all the way up. Great. And just as we did before, so the right arm will continue to reach up, the left hand will come back behind you to touch the inside edge of your right thigh. And this is twofold. I want you to engage that right thigh, making sure that muscle is active. So you might poke it a little bit to make sure it's taut. And then I want you to notice how you can pull your outer left hip back, reach up more through your right arm, and maybe draw those front ribs in and back to find a stretch that goes underneath the right ribs down into the top of that right hip. Once you feel like you found that, you'll go ahead and extend the left arm up to meet the right. Bend more into that front knee. And again, you're pushing into that left foot and it's almost like you're trying to turn the whole thing counterclockwise. Continue to press down into the pinky toe edge of that back foot and then see if you can lift the ribs up, the fingers up, the gaze up. Nice job. Next exhale, plant your hands on the mat and step back, downward facing dog. Okay. Let's come forward into that weird planky position again. So your shoulders are rounded a little bit. Your pelvis is lifted a little bit. The hands are pushing down. Awesome. And on your next exhale, you'll bend the knees and lift the hips up and back. Now at this point, if you still have that blanket underneath you, awesome sauce, keep it there. If you don't, you might want to put one there. Great. Okay, so from downward dog, inhale, lift your right leg up and back. As you exhale, step that right foot quietly between your hands. Pause. You might bring your hands to the blocks or you might keep them right as they are. I want you to push down into your front foot, push down into your back foot, squeeze those points together, and then inhale, come all the way up to vertical. So just as we did before, push into that right foot and you're thinking of turning it clockwise. Yep. And then you're going to push down into that back foot. Now, as you inhale, reach up through the arms. As you exhale, squeeze all the muscles on that back leg. Inhale, bend the back knee and tap it to the blanket or floor. And then exhale, just straighten the back leg. And you got 4 of these. And as you're doing these next 4, you're going to try to see if you can keep that front knee exactly as it is. So it doesn't straighten, it just bends. Just bends. Yep. You're going down and you're going up. Yep. And after your next one, we'll stay in high crescent lunge. And you'll just take a moment to breathe there. As you exhale, the arms will spin open and wide and you'll open to warrior 2. Spin that back foot down and take a moment to notice if you need to readjust your hips and your feet, and hands can come to the hips if that helps you readjust feet. Now again, bend into that front knee. It's like you're turning it counterclockwise. Release your right hand in front of your right thigh. Turn the palm to face away from you and straighten the arm as much as you can. Now, reach your left hand alongside your left hip, and you're going to slide the right hand down towards your ankle as you reach the left arm alongside your ear, and we'll find ourselves in extended side angle. And the trick to it today is we're pressing the back of that right arm into our right thigh. So if the foot or if the hand touches the floor, great. If it doesn't, great. It doesn't matter. We're more concerned about pressing the arm into the thigh into the arm, pressing the left pinky toe into the floor and reaching and breathing all along that left side body. Left palm faces down. Awesome sauce. On your next in-breath, sweep the left arm back as though it's going along the horizon and come back up to warrior two. And then let's go ahead and exhale, straighten that front leg long. Awesome. As you're ready, inhale, reach forward, out and down, and bring that right hand maybe to the shin, to the block, or to the floor. And then if the hand is on the inside edge of that shin or floor, you're pressing the hand into the shin, you're pressing the shin into the hand, you're lengthening the right side body and drawing the right ribs under and forward, and the left ribs up and on top, and then play with where you want that top arm. Do you want it at 180 degrees? Do you want to do a half bind? Do you want the palm over your ears? But you're paying attention to where it feels comfortable for you to take in a deeper breath. Awesome sauce. Take one more breath cycle here. At the end of your next exhale, you'll inhale and return to warrior two. And then exhale, cartwheel the hands down, low lunge. Step yourself back to downward facing dog. Take a moment to just pause there. If you feel like hanging out there, hang out there. If you want to come forward into that planky shape, come into that planky shape. We're just trying to keep ourselves pretty grounded. So we're not forcing ourselves to do any back bends today. We're just seeing how it's going. And then those that went to the planky pose, please come back to downward facing dog. And we'll try this on the left side. So inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. Now maybe the hands stay on the floor, maybe they come to blocks, your choice. But you're going to push down through both feet, hug the feet together, and then bring your spine all the way up to vertical. And now once we're vertical, again, we're going to still push into that left foot, and it's almost like we're trying to turn it counterclockwise. Hug both feet together. Inhale, finding more length through your spine. Exhale, squeezing the muscles on that back leg. And on your next in-breath, you'll bend the left knee and let it tap the floor or the blanket. And then you'll exhale and straighten the back leg up. And so as you do this about 4 more times, you're seeing if you can keep that left knee exactly as it is. So we're just, look, that makes it harder in the hamstrings. So we're just trying to see if we can isolate that back muscle. So we spend a lot of time sitting, and these leg muscles don't get the workout that they need all the time. And after you've done 4, you'll go ahead and just stay for a few breaths in high crescent lunge. Nice job. On your next exhale, let's open to warrior two. Spin the back foot down, adjust the feet, adjust the arms. And you'll just take a moment to pause here. Are the feet as they need to be? Again, we're bending into that front knee as much as we can, and we're externally rotating it, so it's going counterclockwise. Then bring the left hand in front of the left thigh, palm faces away from you. As you slide that left hand down towards your left ankle, the right hand sweeps up and over your head. And we're trying to keep the left side active. So, if you have the block there, great. If you don't, great. But you're pushing the left thigh into the left arm into the left thigh, the right pinky toe down. And you're seeing if you can keep lengthening your tailbone to the inner right thigh. Awesome. Take one more breath cycle here. On your next inhale, sweep that arm back, come back to warrior two. As you exhale, go ahead and straighten that front leg long, pull the kneecap up on the left side. Yep, and then inhale, reach forward, out and down, bringing that left hand to a shin, to a block, or to the floor. And you've got about 3 breath cycles here. And again, we're paying attention. What activation needs to happen in our feet? Where do we want to place that top arm? Do we want to do a half bind? Do we want to do standard 180? Do we want to have the arm alongside our ear? But you're paying attention. What work is necessary in the feet to keep you where you can lengthen that left side body and keep the heart reaching forward and up? Nice job. The end of your next exhalation, you'll inhale and return to warrior 2. And then exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the floor, step back, downward facing dog. Okay. And then let's inhale and come forward to that weird plank again, making sure this time shoulders are over wrists, upper back is super rounded, tuchus is lifted. Yep. And then you'll exhale and lift your hips high, downward facing dog. Okay, so that whole thing of having the shoulders come over the wrist in that weird way is helpful if you want to hop forward, because that's what essentially needs to happen when you hop forward. So you've got one more breath cycle here. The end of your next exhalation, you can step or hop forward, but we want to think that same action of shoulders coming over the wrist if you're hopping. Yeah, nice, Barbara. Nice, Laura. Nice, guys. Okay, and then once we get to the top of our space, let's separate our feet hip distance apart. Some of you can choose to use a block. Some of you will choose not to use a block. It's totally up to you. But if you're going to use a block, you might put it between your shin bones. I'm going to cue it without, but you choose what works best for you. Let's go ahead and bring our hands up the outside edges of our shin bones, fingertips pointing down. I want you to push your hands into your shin bones a lot and then push your hands out into your shin bones. Inhale, bend your knees enough to reach your sternum forward and your pubic bone back. Keep pushing out into your shins. Keep pushing into your shins, or pushing out into your hands and pushing into your shins. Great. From here, continue to bend your knees until they come to about a 90-degree angle. Your hands will slide up closer towards your knees. Keep pushing in towards the knees. Keep pushing out with the hands, or out to the hands. And the next in breath, reach your arms forward and up and sit all the way down for Utkatasana, chair pose. So hopefully we're pushing out so much into our imaginary hands now while pushing in with our imaginary hands, that we can sit our butts lower, push down through your big toe mounds, and then see if you can arc your pubic bone back with your sternum up and your arms up. And we're just sitting for 3 more breath cycles in Utkatasana. And you're just noticing how the feet can help here. So if you push down through that big toe mound a lot, it helps you engage the inner thighs. On your next in breath, you'll stand up, you'll reach up. And then as you exhale, lower the hands, drop the tailbone, lift the pubic bone, lift the sternum. Nice. Awesome. Take a moment to just breathe here. And then those of you that are having that block, please go ahead and remove that block and take it away. From here, let's go ahead and open arms out wide, right to left. As you exhale, wrap your left arm underneath, your right arm on top, give yourself a hug. And then you'll lift the elbows, excuse me, in line with the tops of the shoulders, and you can choose to stay there. Maybe bring the backs of the palms to touch, maybe bring the fronts of the palms to touch. And before we go anywhere, you're just going to do some shoulder flossing. So you'll inhale and lift the elbows up, and you'll exhale and draw them forward and down. And you're just noticing what this feels like. And we know where we're going, but can we stay connected to what's happening right here and now, feeling how the back can widen, how the shoulders can impact what's happening in the neck and the jaw. Great. And after you've done 4 sets, you'll go ahead and come to stillness. And with our left arm underneath and our right arm on top, I want you to just sort of lift and kick your left leg out to the outside edge of your right leg. So very lackadaisical. And then we're going to bend our knees enough until you can start to feel contact with that left shin against the right knee. And maybe you just stay there with the left toes on the floor. Maybe you bend that right knee a little bit more, enough to release the back of the left foot, or top of the left foot, to the back of the right calf. And you're just going to take a moment to pause there and take a moment to breathe there. Nice. And then very gently If you touch the foot, release the foot back to the floor, straighten the left leg, unwind the arm and unwind the leg. And then if you need to wiggle it out just a little bit, you can wiggle it out before we go ahead and do the other side. Okay. And so then we'll go ahead and switch sides. So last time left arm was under, so this time right arm will be under as you give yourself a hug. Lift the elbows in line with the tops of the shoulders, then maybe bring the backs of the palms to touch or the fronts of the palms to touch. And again, you're pushing your elbows forward and out as you inhale and as you exhale, and you're noticing what that does to the back of the body, the neck, the shoulders. You're noticing what that does to your breath. You're just doing a total of 4. And after you've done 4, we'll go ahead and pause, elbows in line with shoulders. You just shift the weight to your left leg and you just sort of stand that right leg out to the outside edge of the left foot. And then we'll start to bend that left knee and you'll try to nestle that right leg outside of the left shin. And you can stay right here or you can bend even deeper into that left leg and maybe hook the top of the right foot behind the back of the left calf. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're pausing and you're breathing. Awesome. And then when you're ready to come out, you'll gently just release the right toes back to the floor, straighten the left leg long, unwind the arms and the legs, and again, wiggle it out. Great. And last thing, let's go ahead and turn to face the long edge of our mats. Separate your feet about 3 or 4 feet apart. Turn your toes out, your heels in, and you're going to bend your knees and pop a squat. And once we're here, some of you will choose to bring your hands to the tops of your thighs. Some of you will keep your hands at heart center, but we're sitting for goddess pose. So Laura, can you just widen your feet? Yep. And we're just staying here. Some of you will stay right here happy as a clam. Some of you who want to continue to work the strength of your feet will try to lift your heels up and away from the floor. But we're going to be here for about 5 breaths. And if you're lifting those heels up, you lift and lower them down. So you're just straightening, or rather lifting the feet up and strengthening the feet. We're just noticing what this feels like as we're breathing, as we're sitting. We're feeling the stability in our legs, the power in our legs, the wobbleness in our feet, but yet all the while we are okay. Awesome. After you've done about 4 of those, we'll just sit for the last few breath cycles in goddess. Some of you at this point may bring your hands to the tops of your thighs. Some of you will now bring your hands to your heart center, but we're just going to sit for 3. We're going to sit for 2. We're going to sit for 1. Go ahead and straighten both legs. Turn the feet so they're parallel to the short edges of your mat, and make sure that your heels are spinning out just a little bit more so than normal. Toes are slightly in. Hands come to the backs of your legs. Inhale, heart and sternum lift. And as you exhale, chin comes towards the sternum, hinge at your hips, and fold all the way in for Prasarita Padottanasana. Hands will slide down towards the ankles. And once you get there, you might keep the hands on the ankles. You might release them to the floor, but you're going to just take a few breaths here. Taking a moment to ground, again, pressing those pinky toe edges down into the feet in order to send the inner thighs back. And then notice if all the weight is evenly balanced on your feet or if your weight is shifted a little bit more back towards your heels. What that does is it just changes where you're feeling the opening in the backs of the legs. Great. And let's go ahead and gently come out of this. If the hands are anywhere other than underneath the shoulders, walk the hands underneath the shoulders. Inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, bend the knees just a smidge. Draw your hands to your hips. Pause here for a breath, pushing out into the feet, drawing the shoulder blades onto the back, reaching the heart forward. Yep. And then inhale, come all the way up to vertical. Great. Straighten the legs, and then you can either walk the feet together, hop the feet together, somehow get the feet together. Great. And then turn to face the top of your space. Great. And now you guys are going to walk your feet so your feet are touching. Knees are touching. And you're going to inhale and bend all the way down to bring your butt to the floor. So we're going all the way down through Utkatasana to bring your butt to the floor. So mama to be baby might create an impediment there. Awesome. And then when you get your butt down to the floor, you might sit on your blanket. And we're just going to draw the soles of the feet to touch. Where is my blanket? And again, you can still play with opening the feet like it's a book, and you're just bringing the hands to the inside edge. And we're just going to be here for a few breaths. So some of you will stay here playing with your feet. Some of you will bring your elbows towards your knees, your forearms on top of your shins, and you'll hinge forward. Some of you will keep your forearms more on top of your thighs and sort of press your thighs into your hand or into your arms into your thighs. And we're just take a few breaths here. We're not trying to force anything. We're just breathing and seeing what's there. Great. And then we'll gently come out of this shape. Bring your hands underneath your knees, close your knees together, and walk your feet forward. Now from here, the left leg will cross back underneath the right leg will cross outside of the left, and we'll take Ardha Matsyendrasana. Now, depending upon if you've got another human in front of you or not, you might need to walk that foot further away or further back, or just not do this part at all. But we're going to take a twist towards the right. Mama to be, you can go towards the left instead, unless you want to go to the right. Then we're going to just pause and we're going to breathe. And those of you that are going to the right, you might push the left forearm into the back of your right knee, push the right knee into the back of that left forearm, creating a contraction there. Mama to be going towards the left, think about lengthening up through the spine. And then from there, turning baby over towards the left and softening the left shoulder down. Yeah. And we've got 2 more breaths as we are, making sure both hips are equally rooted and weighted into the floor. And then very gently, we'll inhale and unwind. And we'll go to the other side. So the right leg comes underneath, the left leg comes on top. And we're going to sit as tall as we can. And those of us that are going to the left, you might just hug that left thigh in close towards the chest. And again, pushing left thigh out into right arm into left thigh, pulling left low belly in and back. And then if we are going to the right, we're lengthening up through this crown a lot. And we're seeing if we can still root down through that left hip as we draw abdomen baby over towards the left. Dropping left shoulder away from ears. Great, and you got 1 more breath cycle here. And then on your next in-breath, let's go ahead and inhale and unwind. From here, plant both feet in front of you and walk both hands back behind you. So we didn't really do any back bending today, but this will be our big one that we'll do. It's not really much of a back bend, but we'll see. So we'll bring our hands back behind us and we'll do this twice. The first time you're going to do is just lift your butt up and towards your feet. Bend your elbows a little bit and hug your shoulder blades onto your back body, and then try to straighten your arms. This will stretch your wrists, and you might feel this across your chest. And you're just trying to think of like being a flapper girl. So your chest is coming towards your knees, your low back is pretty arched. Elbows are hugging in. And if that feels good to you, you'll repeat that. Otherwise, we'll come out of that shape just a little bit. And then we're going to go ahead and lift our pelvis up and away from the floor. So feet are still hip distance apart. Go ahead and bend your elbows, hug the elbows towards each other, push down through your hands, push down through your feet, lift your hips high. Now we spent all this time paying attention to our feet. So I want you to push into your big toes. I want you to lengthen your tailbone forward and then hug your shoulder blades onto your back. And then push into your index finger. Notice how that helps you lift your chest. And again, push into the big toes, lengthen the tailbone forward. Push into the index finger, hug the shoulder blades onto the back. And then when you're ready, you'll lower your pelvis down to the floor. Go ahead and start to cover the body up at this point if you'd like, and we're going to make our way onto our backs. And so as we come onto our backs, make sure that you've got whatever feels comfortable for you. So if you want any props, make sure they're easily accessible. Then if your sacrum is feeling any wonkiness, when you lay down, the first thing I want you to do is put that block in between your inner upper thighs. And you're just going to do a few little squeezes when you find yourself on your back. So Laura, bend your knees and plant your feet on the floor. There we go. And you'll just squeeze into that block. And that's just to make sure if there's any wonkiness in the sacrum, you're resetting the two innominate bones. And after you've done that a few times, I want you to check in and see if there's anything else that your body feels like it might need at this moment. For some of you, taking a supported bridge might feel nice. Some of you might be straight up ready to go to Supta Baddha Konasana or Shavasana. Some of you might want to take figure 4 on your back, but you're just taking a moment to check in. The thing I've been working with a lot in my personal practice has been this concept of letting go. And the irony is, in order for us to let go of anything, whether it's a grudge, whether it's pain, whether it's sorrow, whether it's doing too much or not doing enough, we have to first make contact with what that thing is. We have to sort of slow down enough so that we can see it, see us, see a relationship for what it is. And then from there, that gives us the potential and the possibility to know what needs to be softened, to know what needs to be let go of, to know what needs to be relinquished. So as you're doing these final few shapes and you're getting yourself prepared for final Shavasana, I encourage you to really take the opportunity to get still in a place where you can fully see so that you can fully let go. You know, a lot of times we talk about change, but the most effective change is the change that's intelligent, the change that's directed at a particular thing. So as you make your way to your final resting pose now, I encourage you to set yourself up so that you can be still. Meaning if your room is cold, you've covered your body up. If you want some props to support the opening of whatever shape you're taking, by all means, please do that. We want to give ourselves the opportunity to really be able to become still. Great. Nice. I love how you've all taken different adjustments and modifications for you. And as you're here and finally settling in, take these last few breath cycles to notice if any more fidgets are needed. Take a big inhale and an audible exhale and just allow yourself to start to fall into the shape. And if you need to take that audible breath 2 more times, by all means, please do that. Great. And as we start to settle into our shape today, we'll again start by noticing all the bones of the body and noticing if we can let them each just be maybe a pound heavier than they are. If the image of being 10 pounds heavier helps you, you can do that too, but you're just letting them be a bit heavier than they are. And then as the bones become heavier, notice if you can soften the muscles, letting them just relax, letting them let go around the structure of the bones. And as the bones become heavier, as the muscles soften, the breath starts to expand. And so for today, we're just going to allow our awareness to rest on the abdomen, watching as the breath comes in and as the breath goes out of the body. And at any point, if you notice that the mind starts to wander, no worries. Just repeat to yourself, let go. And you let go of that thought and just come back to watching the movement in the abdomen. And so we'll stay here for a few more breath cycles, a few more moments on your own, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Mhm. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you that is longing to linger here, by all means, please stay here as long as you'd like. When you are ready, you'll start to invite small movement into the body. Those that are in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those that are in movement, make your way to one of your sides. Gently, you'll start to draw yourself up to a tall, comfortable seat. And I do encourage you to take the opportunity to elevate your bum on a block or a blanket. And for today, what we're going to focus on today is just sort of paying attention to what's happening now. So I want you to soften your gaze to the floor, close the eyes completely. I want you to adjust the body so it feels comfortable for you. And then the first thing that we'll become aware of is just noticing what is touching your skin, noticing how things feel against your skin, whether it's clothing, the air, your hair. And then you'll next begin to notice if there are any sounds in your environment. And you're really just trying to listen as though somebody was calling your name and you're trying to discern where it's coming from. Really, really listening. And then you'll notice if there's any tension in the body that you can soften, maybe around the jaw, maybe around the shoulders or the throat. And then you'll start to become aware of the breath. And again, we're just paying attention to how it feels, how it's touching perhaps the skin underneath our nose, or maybe even the throat inside, the lungs inside, the diaphragm, the abdomen. We're paying attention to any sound that the breath may have. And throughout it all, we're just allowing ourselves to be really present in this moment. Whenever a thought arises, just saying to ourselves, you can let go. Whenever muscle tension arises, repeating to ourselves, you can let go. I can't speak for any of you, but I hold on to things so tightly because I'm afraid of what will happen should I let go. But it seems like everything that we want is on the other side of this discomfort. Every joy we want is on the other side of us letting go, of us allowing to trust ourselves, each other, and the universe. So as you take these last 3 breath cycles here, I just encourage you to notice where in your own life you might just take in a deeper breath, where you might soften just a little bit more, and where you can trust just a little bit more. We'll go ahead and complete our practice by drawing our hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other, receive the weight of the thumbs into your sternum, and lift your heart towards your hands. Take an audible exhale through the mouth. Take a big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. To that light, to that breath, and to that sound, we bow. Namaste.